Welcome to another IoT Friday. Last week we looked at the difference between industrial IoT and Industry 4.0. Today we look at numbers, because it's all in the numbers. Or is it now? I'm Steven.
I'm Tom. And a business case in IoT, that's what numbers are all about. Often. But today we're going to look at those numbers, obviously, but also at other items.
Yeah, and why it is not only numbers, because often business cases fail because there's only been looked at the direct revenue that comes out of a IoT scenario.
True. So we are going to look at this revenue part, but also at maybe numbers of devices, which is also numbers, and of course number of data that's being gathered. That's also numbers, right?
Because you can often get a lot more out of you're placing a sensor somewhere, thinking you get this specific data out of it, but there's a lot more context and a lot more data that you can get out of it, generating more information, and thereby there's often more in this business case than only the thing that you decided to make it for.
Yeah.
So look at that, but we take this in an example.
Yeah. Good idea. Let's take an example to start with numbers, right?
Yeah.
Let's take, for example, a company that exploits diesel generators.
Leases.
It leases diesel generators. It has 100 diesel generators at remote locations. Each diesel generator has a 120-liter tank that needs to be filled up, of course. And the company has to drive around to fill up those tanks and to fill them up with diesel.
And the diesel generator is, if it runs at 70%, 75% of the maximum power, it will use about 3 to 4 liters of diesel an hour. So it will run out within 30 hours.
True, yeah. So you have to drive by every day. But if this diesel generator is using a lot less fuel, so you're using a lot less power,
25% of the maximum capacity,
it could be you are looking at up to 3 to 4 days that you have to fill it up. So that's quite a big difference of driving around every day to up to once per 4 days in maximum.
And by not knowing how much it uses, you don't know how much diesel is left in the tank. Thereby, it could be that you come in the next day while it is still for 60, 70, 80% full.
Yeah. If you want to come up with an IoT solution in this situation, obviously we are thinking about measuring the level of diesel in the tank.
Yeah, and the power usage of
put something up. But let's keep it simple. We're measuring the fuel level of the tank. We need to invest into creating a framework that collects all this data. With everything around it, this might cost you up to 50,000 euros.
So that's the devices, an IoT platform, dashboarding, notifications to someone.
Hardware is not included, so you have to buy some hardware in order to that needs to be installed at the diesel generator, which will cost you 50 euros a piece for these amount of things. And there's a one-time installment cost, because you have to drive to the location of the diesel generator and install it once, which will also cost you 50 euros.
Yeah.
Once.
So we make the calculation. How much is that per device per year or 3 years? Because often
in total it's about 60k investment for 100 diesel generators. And say you want to have a return on investment in 3 years, you could save potentially up to 200 euros per device that you are not driving to the device to fill it up. Maybe not once per day, but once per 2 days or per 3 days. So up to 200 euros per year per device could be saved.
Yes.
If you look at 100 devices over 3 years, this will save you 60,000 euros. So we invest 60,000 euros, we save 60,000 euros in 3 years. So the business case is zero.
Zero. Is that positive or negative? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Not positive or negative.
No.
But this is where it gets into the numbers.
Yeah,
because this is for 100 devices. But doing the same for 1,000 devices, you get total different numbers. We'll put it up on screen, but seeing it very simply, the 50k for building the platform stays the same. Yeah. Whether you do it for 100 devices, or 1,000, or even 10,000, and going to 1,000, 10,000 devices, you see that the investment per device or per diesel generator, in that sense, goes down very, very quickly.
And the funny thing also is that not only the total investment goes down for the framework and everything around it, but also the cost per hardware item that we install at the diesel generator will go down drastically. Yeah? For 1,000 it will go down, but for 10,000 that's typically a tipping point where things get really cheap. So that's a really interesting thing. So going into numbers will save you a lot of investment on the bigger part, but also the hardware becomes a lot cheaper. And disposable even maybe in that sense. So.
And there's more. As we said, what data are you collecting? If you're only collecting the amount of diesel that is still in the tank, you only have this specific business case which you can calculate. But maybe you need to have a green or a greener image as a company. So you need to show how much CO2 you're producing, or the diesel generator.
In this case, you want to show how much CO2 you are saving.
For
instance, the solution.
For instance,
so that makes you a greener company.
Okay, fair enough. And always also to show to the customer, or make sure that you can guarantee to the customer that the diesel generator is always online.
100% availability of power at these remote locations.
Because now we're making sure that you're not there too often, but also making sure that you're not there too late, having the diesel generator run out of fuel entirely.
So that might be a much bigger value for the customer than the investment and the insight that you gain into filling up the fuel tanks. So the business case is zero, but the added value here could be way bigger.
So from that you can conclude, look further than only the direct revenue that comes out of a few devices. Look into greater numbers and make this business case into a great depth. Make sure that you take everything out of it that is there, because there's often a lot more value for services, creating services, customer satisfaction, reducing maintenance, maybe even doing predictive maintenance on the same diesel generator, which creates a lot more than only the direct revenue that comes out of saving the amount of trips to the device.
So what you could say here is that doing the calculations quickly, like we did in this example, is a nice thing to get an idea on how things would work, but we have to look into much more detail in order to get all the value out of the solution.
Otherwise you get a negative business case, which might not be entirely true. That's it for today. Concluding another IoT Friday. If you have any response, feedback or questions on this, get to us, email, or just comment on that video below. And we hope to see you next week.
Stay connected and see you next week. Bye.